Let's talk about my experience in King Arthur as a free-to-play player and a little bit about the state of the game overall, in my opinion. I will be very interested in your feedback on this video. I want to go ahead and say that now, as far as your experience, whether or not you're free-to-play, how you're finding the game, what you think about some of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm very interested, particularly on this video, so feel free to comment your thoughts down below. But it's no secret, I'm a big fan of this game. I think that this game has massive potential. There are some things that they are doing that I think I appreciate more in this game than I've appreciated in any other game. There are also some critiques that I have, and I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that. So, I am free to play. Against my own will, I should note, I did want to spend money, and I tried to, probably a week ago, I was going to convert, because I have so much that I want to do. I have so many champs that I want to build and so much stuff that I want to get done so that I can make content about it. And I just wasn't getting the resources quickly enough to do it at the rate I wanted to do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to spend. I like the game. I want to support the developers. I have no problem spending, and I need the resources. But I can't get any of my payment methods to go through in this game. Sometimes being in Australia, but having US-based payment methods, some systems don't like that, and they'll flag it, not let them not take my money. So we are free to play against our own will, but that's the way it is. So probably for the best for anybody that wants to reference an actual free to play. I could spend money and use rares and tell you I'm making you free to play guides, and that's still valid, I think. But I think this way there will be no excuse for any team or content that I make. It will be free to play because it is on a free to play account. There can be no confusion or anything like that about like the gear that I've been able to obtain. Maybe because I spent money or whatever it may be, right? We are actually going to climb this game free to play and see what we can accomplish and see what kind of big hills we encounter that are hard to get over. So my account at this point, I have 5 6 stars right now. They are Kay, Clementine, Anguish, Arthur, and Jarrett. I don't know that I would advise you to 6-star Jarrett, but I'm just such a fan and I wanted to 6-star him and see what he was really capable of. And I'm using him pretty heavily, so it seemed worth it to me. Some people seem surprised that I have 6 5-stars this early. I have not 6-starred a legendary, and that might be the difference maker. It costs twice as much resources to 6-star a legendary as it does to 6-star a rare. Like literally twice as many. So if I was only 6-starring legendaries, I'd have, 2.5 6 stars right now. So that's probably the difference maker, is that I'm much more interested in 6-starring rares and uncommons right now. And that leads me to one of the things that I really appreciate about this game is just how usable uncommons and rares are. How usable / necessary even sometimes. There are a lot of mechanics in this game, and the mechanics go pretty deep. And I really like that I can click on any given uncommon and go look at their skills and see very usable mechanics. Mechanics that I firmly believe will solve problems that I'm having. I needed a Mark champ for Scalehag, or however you say his name. Here's a Mark champ that is sufficient. There's another uncommon named Douglas that I think is probably even a better option that I just kind of overlooked at first. Douglas has a 2-hitter on the A1 with marks. So if you've got one more Mark champ on the team, you've got potential to get your 3 marks on that boss that you need to really cause a problem for him. I love that. I appreciate that so much in a game. I have no problem with legendaries being the strongest champs by far. I have no issue with that. I think that's the way it should be. They're supposed to be rare, it's supposed to feel meaningful when you pull them, and they're supposed to make an impact in your ability to do things in the game. I have never had a problem with that. I have a problem with it when the rares and uncommons in a game are basically just a formality. When they're there just because that's the formula and you need fodder or you need the structure or whatever it is. When they're basically just filler champs, that really turns me off to a game. And I really appreciate the utility I'm finding in these uncommons and rares. So I think they're doing that better than most games I've ever played right now. I hope that they keep that up. I hope as they continue to expand the champ pool, they expand it across the board. I've seen games come out to a pretty good start before, and then they only add legendaries over time. It only becomes about adding legendaries. I mean, my fingers are crossed so hard that they don't do that here. I would love to see them continue to add rares and uncommons to this game. So that's one thing I will definitely be on the lookout for. But as it stands right now, I just have such an appreciation for the utility of the rares and uncommons. I definitely want to give them props for that. Because there's still several more down here that I want to build. There's a couple of uncommons that I've got my eye on that I think are going to be so much fun. This dude right here has such a ridiculous skill. And I think if you build him and get him skilled up and take him into arena, he could introduce such havoc randomly. It's this skill right here. 1% chance right now to inflict out of battle bounds, which he just erases somebody from the fight. And skilled up, that comes up to 5%. So it won't happen a lot. But when it happens, dude, that's crazy to just delete somebody from a fight. I think he could be so much fun to use in PvP. And there's a lot of that going on down here. There's a lot of that going on with the uncommons. As I go through and look at their kits, there's just so much fun and interesting stuff down here with the uncommons. And they're much easier to build. It doesn't cost the same amount of resources to build uncommons as it does rares and as it does legendaries. So that's, again, something else I appreciate. I don't know why I guess because it's showing me his weapon. I was like, why is it got such a weird angle on this guy? But yeah, I'm excited to get to a point where I can justify building someone strictly for fun, because I think he might be number one on my list when I get to that point. I've got a lot of champs to build right now that I need to build, but he's one that's on my radar for fun. So again, that's a huge, huge positive that I think the developers deserve a lot of credit for. I think they've done such a fantastic job with their champ design, both visually and mechanically. And I just am so hopeful that they keep it up. I really hope that they keep it up and continue to expand all rarities of champions in the game, and not just add legendaries. Because I think that's just so good for the health of the game, right? So that's a huge plus. Another huge plus, I think implementing the city building mechanics into this game is such a good idea that I just haven't seen much in games like this. I think that's such a good extra thing to give us to focus on in a way that actually benefits our account and feels different. More experience potions here. I think that was a really cool idea. It's simple now that I think about it, but I never really even considered it, to be honest. The only thing I ever really considered on the home screen was because I played Summoner's War, and that was customization, being able to move your buildings around. And some games have kind of done this thing where there's some things you level up, like Raid has the gem mine, and some games have a couple of things like that. But having like basically everything in your town be something you can upgrade, having your market be something you can upgrade, so that it scales with you. That's such a great idea. That's such a great, simple idea. So, resource generation buildings, and I can't really tell. It looks like there may be some room over here for like future expansion. I'm not sure if that's the case, but like that just seems like backdrop right now. But like, I don't know, there's a little farm over there. So I don't know if at a certain point they're going to expand. There's going to be more city building mechanics or what, but I think that's a pretty cool thing that they've added into the mix. So lots of good stuff to say. The summoning seems pretty good right now. There's a lot of very positive things to say about the game. Let's talk about a few critiques that I have, because there are a few. The gold crunch, I think, might be my biggest critique right now. Might be my biggest point of contention right now. I want to be clear. I prefer a game where the economy is a little bit tighter, where it is a little bit more of a balancing act. I would not want to just pile up 100 million gold and then never need it again. I think that's a little silly. I don't know why you would bother having a system like that. If it's going to be basically endless and you never really are going to need it, it doesn't need to bother being a currency anyway. So I don't mind there being a gold crunch. I don't mind needing to be mindful of where I'm spending my resources. I don't think it's particularly balanced in this game. Now, that could be something that solves itself later in the game. Maybe when you get to a point where you can farm stage 10, maybe it won't feel that way. Maybe the ratio of energy spent to gold received will feel different. It doesn't seem like that will be the case to me, because I'm on stage 7 right now, and it is not unreasonable for me to spend most or all of my day farming that dungeon with any energy that I get, and then still not having enough to even fully develop a champion. To fully build and gear and level up gear on whatever champion it is I'm trying to build. Gold goes so fast in this game. So unbelievably fast. For how hard it is to obtain and how quick it's gone, it doesn't feel quite balanced to me right now. I think that it could use some work. So a couple of suggestions. One easy one is give us something like an experience potion fountain, but for gold. You know, put a mine. Like, there's a couple spots on the map that already look like they could be a mine. You know what I mean? Give us a gold mine and let it generate gold for us passively over time. I think that could alleviate it a little bit, assuming it was a reasonable amount, not like 10,000 gold every time we log in or something, but like an actually moderately substantial amount of gold. I think that's something you could do without having to tweak anything else, as long as it gives us enough gold to be meaningful as we leveled it up. Otherwise, I think you just need to tweak like maybe the amount of gold that drops in Gorgos, maybe minimize the cost a little bit of champ development. You know, advancing and awakening and all of this stuff cost a lot of gold on top of the resources you have to farm. That also are pretty demanding. You know what I mean? It's not anything crazy unreasonable, but like it takes a minute. It takes a minute to farm these materials to 6-star champ. And then 130,000 gold on, and then we get to the equipment. And if we go through my equipment, you'll notice I've got a lot of 4-star gear. I stop at 9 on most of my gear. I don't take something to 12 unless I really think it needs to go to 12. Like Clementine, I got lucky and got an HP percentage ring. I took that to 12. But a lot of her +9 stuff, a lot of her 4-star stuff stayed at +9 because taking it to 12 is a lot. +12 for the most part doesn't even exist for me yet, and I'm only on 4-star gear. I'm not even, you know what I mean? 5-star gear is going to get crazy. I don't, it's just going to get crazy. The gold crunch is very aggressive, which again, to a degree, I don't mind. I actually prefer. I like that to a degree. I just don't think it's balanced. I think it needs tweaking in a few ways that I've talked about here. Another critique, and this may be the only other real critique. There's a couple of minor quality of life things, UI things and stuff that I think could be implemented over time. For example, if I've got energy in my inventory, sometimes I sit on like the thing where you can click on and get 50 or 100 energy or whatever. If I have those in my inventory and I'm running dungeons and I run out of energy and I click to add more, the only option is still the shop, even if I have energy in my inventory. Like, give me access to the stuff in my inventory from somewhere other than my inventory screen. You know what I'm saying? That like minor stuff like that I think they'll I hope, I guess, that they'll hammer out over time. But that's not really what we're talking about today. The only other genuine critique that I think I have right now is I was going to say difficulty spikes, but really the only real difficulty spike that I think is problematic is this one. I think the final boss for the campaign is a little bit too hard. For how difficult he is to get to, and then how difficult he is, it feels totally different. It feels like you're trying to go from 10-6 normal to 10-7 hard. He is ridiculously hard. If you have Merlin, I don't know if this is exactly true, but based on the conversations I see happening in my Discord about this, everybody that has Merlin is like, it wasn't really that bad. And everybody that doesn't have Merlin is like, this is fucking crazy. How is this supposed to even be possible? So if you've got Merlin, maybe you're not feeling the effects of this, but if you don't, perhaps you are. This felt so insanely hard. It's very satisfying when you get through it, which is a nice thing about things being difficult, but I think it could be toned down a little bit. Maybe on normal, he only eats 2 of your champs. You know what I mean? At the beginning of the fight. Like, it needs to give a little bit here. I just think it's a little too hard. So that's a very specific critique I have. And then if I have one more critique that I think would be very easily adjustable, I think that it's a little bit too hard to obtain usable gear early in the game. If we go through and look at my champ's gear right now, for example, like Kay, who I'm very invested in. I've got her at Chivalry 5. I'm trying to awaken her. I've got her 6-starred. I'm very heavily invested in her. And she's wearing a lot of 3-star gear right now, so I don't even have good main stats on this gear for her. It's just really hard. And I've been crafting, and I've been trying all the different ways that I can come up with to get gear. And these gear dungeons, man, I just feel like they're too difficult. I don't think the rewards that you get from them match the difficulty of the dungeon. I don't think 3-star gear is doing me any good anymore. I'm at the point where I kind of feel like I need 4-star gear with good main stats to really feel like my champs are able to do their jobs in the places that I need them to do their jobs. I'm using 3-star gear because I have to, because I don't have a lot of the 4-star gear to replace it yet. But I feel like either the difficulty could scale down slightly or the reward could scale up just a little bit. Again, I'm not trying to have 5-star gear right now. I don't want it to be too easy. But the grind for getting gear feels a little bit, just slightly too lopsided. Another example is like adventure mode. Chapter 4 is the first time adventure mode has started to feel difficult. There's a couple of fights in here that I had to manual, and they're all still giving me 3-star gear as a reward. I think I'm over it. I think I'm beyond 3-star gear. I don't even care to go back and finish it all, because it's just giving me 3-star gear. Like, I don't need it. You have to start giving me some better gear. So maybe in some of these milestone rewards, even in here and in the story and in different places, maybe have some gear that's like guaranteed to be a good main stat. Maybe have an attack speed ring, like a main stat 4-star attack speed ring, so that I can get my hands on some specifically good gear that's definitely going to be usable, and not a random 3 to 5-star piece that ends up being a 3-star flat HP set of earrings or something. You know what I mean? It just feels, again, just slightly too lopsided, and I don't want it to be easy. I don't want to have too much gold. I don't want to have too much good gear, but I don't feel like I have much access to good gear right now. I can forge it, but that's also very RNG dependent. Sometimes I get something decent. A lot of the time I get 3 or 4-star flat stat stuff. So I end up just flushing these resources down the toilet that are also kind of hard to come by. You know, I'll farm that equipment dungeon for a while and come in here and make 3 pieces of gear, and none of them are usable. So gear is a little bit too hard to come by, in my opinion. Now, it is worth considering we are very early in the life of this game, and maybe they don't want you progressing that fast, right? Someone made this point in my Discord the other night, which I do agree with to a degree. I think in some ways they probably want progression to be a little bit slower right now because the game just came out. The roster's not very deep. They've probably got a lot of content like planned that's going to come out later. So maybe they don't want you finishing everything and getting bored, which I'm all for. But I don't know. I think in some ways you got to be a little bit more subtle about that. So it'll be very interesting to see how this game develops. I think they are off to one of the better starts I've ever seen. I'm very optimistic about this. I love this game. I'm really having a good time with this game. There's so much more that they're doing that I appreciate and think is positive than there are things that I have to critique. I think the things that I've critiqued are big things, and I think if they don't feel like they get better over the course of the next few months, I think it could end up being a problem for the game. But they clearly have good ideas. They're clearly capable of making a good game with interesting mechanics and balancing the roster. And I just think there's massive potential here, and I'm still very, very excited about it. So unless something goes terribly wrong with this game and the developers just lose their minds, I see no reason we won't be covering this on the channel for the foreseeable, for quite a while. This is a game I could definitely see myself playing very long term. So I reckon that'll wrap it up here. That'll be all my thoughts for today. I don't want this to end up being an hour long or anything. Maybe we'll do it again in a month or so and see if anything that we talked about feels like it's changed for the better or for worse. And maybe there will be some new things to talk about by then as well. So I'm interested again in your experience. Are you free to play? Are you spending? What kinds of problems are you seeing in the game? Do you have any critiques that you feel like you want to make? What things do you appreciate about the game? I'd be very interested, again, in your feedback on this one. to see where everybody is sort of at with it. But that's it. I'm going to get out of here for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I appreciate y'all, and we'll be back very soon with some more pointed guides for some dungeons and champs and all that stuff. I'm out of here. Have a good one, guys.